Welcome back, guys. This video is going to be about one of the sexiest parts of mastering, and that is the EQ and compression, and where really a lot of it happens. And unless you're in a stem mastering scenario, this is going to be the bulk of, these are the tools that you have to make a difference in a track. So the compressor that I'm thinking of using is not this compressor right here, because I don't feel like I want to really compress the track as a whole. Maybe some parallel compression could be interesting, but there's no real good way of setting this up in FL Studio with the stock plugins, so we're just going to go ahead and exclude that. But one thing that I am looking at doing is using the multi-band compressor to maybe glue together the bass and kick a bit more. So what I'm saying is that I maybe want to just focus on the low band. And I'm going to go over setting that up in just a second. Also, I'm also going to be using a bit of EQ, of course. So I might be using this EQ. Let's just go ahead and reset all of that. And I'm also going to show you guys how to set up your own mid-side EQ with this patcher right here. So you can go ahead and have a bit more control over your tracks without having to buy any fancy sort of plugins. And I'm actually going to go ahead and base that off of this preset maybe. So let's dive into that right now. We're going to go ahead and also grab the EQs that we need. So let's go ahead and add plugin. We need to add we need to add 2 of these. Can we duplicate this? Okay, we can't duplicate that. Let's just go ahead and add another one. So we're going to add 2 of these. And as you can see, we've got a mid-side splitter right here. So this is a preset inside of the FL Studio stereo. I forget what it's called. The stereo shaper, I believe it's what it's called. And this is a preset you can go into mixing, and you can see here mid a side splitter, and you'll basically get the result you're looking for. So we just go ahead and press on that. So right now we've got that, and it's already named. Let's go ahead and name these as well. We're going to name this mid, and we're going to name this side. So side information is essentially everything that's not mono. So your mid information is everything that is down, center, right, and mono. The left and right signals are the exact same in volume the whole time, and the side information is basically the different signal, to use a fancy term, and that is everything where the left and right is not exactly the same, and your reverbs and pianos will often fall into those categories and all those kinds of different things. So let's go ahead and set this up right here. We're going to go route that in here, and we're also going to route that through there. And then there's only one more important thing to do to make all of this work, and that is that we need to set the side up. You see here we've got the inputs and outputs, and all we need to do is make this go through send 2. So now the sends work, and what you got right here is an EQ for your mids now, an EQ for your sides. You can also go ahead and save this as a preset, and let's actually take this for a quick run as well. Right, so mid-side EQ basically offers you just more functionality. I'd be a bit careful with this as well. I just thought it would be interesting for you guys that only have access to the stock plugins and don't feel like downloading 3 plugins. There are a lot of free plugins out there which are really, really good, but you can just go ahead and make this kind of your own makeshift kind of mid-side EQ. And to basically audit either the mid or the side, what you do is you just basically remove one of these. So now I'm just going to be listening to the side information. So let's give that a quick run. So now what I can do that I have the side information available to me is I can go ahead and maybe add, like a low cut to somewhere, in the side information, because I can tell that there's a lot of side information in those in the bass, which we don't want. We don't want that there. That's going to be really awkward for any format that this is going to be played on, and also just in general, it's going to focus the mid bass a bit more as well. So let's see that we can cut that off a bit. So as you can tell, there was a lot of bass information there, but we have to keep this in mind as well, since there's going to be less bass information in general, so we might have to beef that up a bit in the mids, or just in general now as well. So with mastering, you're always basically building your foundation and your base to then build on top. So initially you maybe start fixing stuff in your chain, things of this nature, and then from there on, with the fixed kind of foundation that you have built now, say you're gluing together something with compression, say multiband compression of that nature, you're tightening up the bass, or you're removing some side information in the bass, or you're adding a bit of high frequencies, or cutting out some harshness, whatever it might be. Now you can build on that. So that's basically what we're trying to go for here. And I think what I might also do is maybe add some high sparkle, bring out the stereo with a bit more in this track. As you can tell, just very subtly on a really, really broad shelf, just really bringing up a lot of that. And let's go ahead and actually also listen to the mid information and see what's going on there. So we can tell right away that the main bass information here now is just a kick, and that is an issue for us. So we're going to go ahead and address that in a second. If we weren't in a stem mastering situation, for example, this would actually be an issue, because we're not able to just push up the bass a bit more, to where we want it. We'd have to now actually go ahead and get a bit more creative. I'm actually going to just take this up half a dB more. But I'll show you guys what I mean in a second. Let's just go ahead and edit this in the mids themselves as well. Very subtle curves going on here, taking out a bit of that boxiness in the 300 hertz range. Again, adding just a bit more snap to that kick drum, and also just beefing up the mids a bit more as well. And this is just some very simple mid-side EQ. Let's actually take a look to what this is doing. So this is really, really subtle, but what to me I'm hearing is that the bass is now a bit more focused, and the track almost feels just a slight inch faster. And just in general, now everything just seems a bit more solid. So I can build on this now. This is like the initial kind of very subtle fixing that's going on. And now let's actually go ahead and throw in this multiband compressor and, control that bass area a bit more. So what you can see here is I've disabled the midband and the high band, because I don't want to be using those. I, assessed essentially that I just want to, glue together the bass and kick a bit more. So let's take a quick look at that. Set this up with a 2-to-1 ratio, because we want it to be pretty subtle. and we also don't want the attack to be too fast since we don't want to choke the kick drum, but we still want it to react. So let's say 40, and bring down the release to 10 so it snaps on pretty quickly, and let's set the threshold. One thing that I would recommend to be really careful about with this multiband compressor is these crossovers, because I'm noticing right now that they don't adjust by themselves, so you can run into phasing issues really, really quickly. So we're just going to go back to default real quick and just set this up just the way that we had it before, essentially because I noticed that stuff was starting to get really, really weird. And we're just going to go ahead and bring that to the setting that we want it. I also went and played with the filter type. I did prefer the different filter type. It's just a characteristic kind of thing. It reacts differently in that sense. So yeah, I think that this is very nicely controlling the low band just a bit, just really bringing those things tighter together. Let's just give that a final listen. You can really tell how the bass is now just a bit more present. And again, we're just starting to build our house, you know, our foundation. Everything's starting to kind of come together now in terms of that region, right? So that bass is now really nicely focused and ready to kind of be built upon. So let's just go ahead and see, maybe we want another additive EQ on top of that. Maybe we want to, you know, bring down just you know, a slight bit of, you know, some harshness or something of that nature after we fix that bass up. You know, bring that snare down, maybe just a slight hitch around the 8K area. And in mastering, you can use, you know, wider bells as well. You're cutting out a lot more sound. And maybe we also want to just bring up those lows just a slight bit in something, you know, like this, just like a low shelf. And this might look weird to some people, but essentially, especially, you know, this really low end information can affect the way the track sounds otherwise. So let's listen to that and also maybe put it beforehand as well. So this way we're kind of, you know, again, building on our house, and with mastering in general or any audio processing, you have to actually listen to what you're doing. And I hit the frequency pretty well here. That was pretty harsh, so I did take that down a bit. But I don't want to dull the track down. I feel like now it's starting to get a bit dull, so I really want to see how I can kind of just bring a bit more life into this. I did also remove a bit of low end just to really, kind of help brighten that track up naturally. And we're actually going to go ahead and maybe check out one of the patcher presets, something that might be interesting for us in terms of bringing up a bit more of that sparkle or something of that nature. Let's check out the stereo exciter preset, actually. See what's happening right here. So you can see we've got a low cut, some color. Let's play around with this preset. So this isn't exactly what I was looking for. Again, one of those effects which are kind of weird, I guess, in the sense it's kind of almost feels like it's duplicating stuff, so that doesn't really work for me at all. But we can just go ahead and check out some different presets in here, see if there's something fun that comes up that might be useful for us. But in general, I'm just trying to... Ooh, this is a note EQ. That's very fancy. So look how complicated this is. That is ridiculous. So let's see. I don't know which note exactly or which key this track is in, but we can just go ahead and play around and see what sounds good. So yeah, that's all too invasive. I'm just playing around at this point, but really I just keep it, using the basic tools and going from there on. And, the different